Are you a girl or woman? Have you ever thought I'm better than this girl? Or have you ever said girls bring so much drama, so that's why I prefer hanging out with guys? That's giving pick me. And today we are delving into pick me culture and how to rid yourself of this. Because as feminists, we believe that women should support women. Let's get right into it. Hi everyone! Welcome back to today's episode on Wines and Rabbits with me as usual, Gail, and my gorgeous host with the I don't know, is it bunny
No, it's
ears? Is
cat.
it
It's a
cat?
cat ears. Yeah.
Oh, it's a cat. I know you didn't like
I do.
cats.
I do like cats. I mean, I do have four of them. Yeah.
Really?
You didn't know?
I thought you only had
I
dogs,
have
cats.
cats as well. I have four
No.
cats. Well, I have three cats and kind of one semi mine. Long story. But yeah, it's cat ears.
Okay. Yeah, I'm surprised I did not know that.
How can
But
you not
anyway,
know
I
that?
I think I already told you I love so I tend to be very forgetful. So there's a very high chance that you told me and I just don't remember. So yeah, it's definitely on me, not you. Yeah. Um Thank you for joining us once again. And today we are talking about pick me, internalized patriarchy, internalized misogyny, and how we as women can start uplifting each other instead of, these small jabs and,
Competing
thinking we
against
are
each other.
exceptional to other women. Exactly. Like, that's what the world wants us to
Hmm.
do. So, we are here to help you break out of that. So, delving right into it, Kat, who is a pick me? What's your definition of a pick me?
So for me, a pick me is basically a person, although in most cases we would be referring to girls or women who think that the very classic line is, I'm not like other girls, right? So it would be things like,
Mm,
oh, I
mm,
don't wear makeup because I'm not like other girls. I don't spend my time on frivolous
ah,
things like makeup. I just go barefaced all the time. Things like
mm,
basically a lot of the things that you would see in the main character of a YA novel during the 2000s or
mm,
2010s. Things like, oh, I don't know how to wear a dress. I don't like girly things. I don't like pink. It's so girly. I like colors like black. Or I only like hanging out with the boys because boys don't cause drama. Girls cause drama all the time. We're just fraught with jealousy. I don't like hanging out with girls. Or basically a lot of things like that. That would be classically defined as like what a pick me is. Basically, women and girls who
mm-hmm,
put other women down by thinking that they're not like other
mm-hmm.
girls. What's your definition?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you covered it pretty much. So just adding on from my angle, a pick me is a woman who panders to men and who is so focused on the male
Hmm.
gaze, on pleasing men, on pleasing the male gaze so much that they distance themselves from
Hmm.
women. They distance themselves from things that in their heads will not be as appealing to men. So a typical example is a girl thinking she's better because she can cook for a
Hmm.
man.
Yeah.
And so if let's say
Or
she has a friend who can cook.
or it can also
Mm-hmm.
be the opposite end of it as well. A girl who thinks that she's better than other girls because
Yeah,
I don't know how to cook. I'm so clumsy.
I don't know
Yeah,
how to cook.
exactly.
True. So I think it's just the general idea that you are, better than other
Hmm.
women, and your end goal is to be picked by men. Picked. That's
Like,
that's why
pick
because
me.
you want to be chosen so bad by a man. That yeah, it's like it's literally on your forehead. Like you have a sign on your forehead. Pick me, choose me. Pick me, choose
Love
me,
me.
babes.
That's from
No.
Grey's
Like
Anatomy.
you oh yeah. Yeah, you're the prize. You are the prize. And that's what we are here to talk
Hmm.
about today. Kat, making it a little bit personalized. Have you at any point of your life been a pick me, or did you come out? Did you pop out as this empowered feminist? Did you have a pick me
I
phase?
did.
Spill your
I
tea.
did. I did. So I'm getting a bit lightheaded because I'm wearing a corset and I'm like, oh my god, I can't breathe. But anyway, I digress. So if I start to look a little bit purple, it's because I'm running out of oxygen. No, I'm just kidding. Um, so I was a pick me, like whatever you imagine as a pick me is, I was like that in my young adult and late teen. So things like from 15, 16 up until almost my early 20s, I was a certified pick me. I when I was
Mm,
younger, when I was like younger, a preteen, early teenager, I loved Pink, for example. I really, really loved Pink. And then I grew up and somehow I started thinking of myself as not like other girls. So what I did was I started abandoning everything that was pink. I hated pink. I didn't want to be associated with pink. I thought I like wearing black because black is is a less feminine color and I wanted that. Um
mm,
and I would not like hanging out with girls. I would have very few girlfriends. Saying that oh, girls are so fall into the classic trope of what a pick me is. I mentioned this a couple of times before, but there would be times when I was younger and then I was feeling a little bit insecure, I would think about the male gaze that I had obtained. So I would think about the number of men who have desired me, and I would view that as a validation of my worth as a person, saying that, oh, all these guys, they have a crush on me, then that means that I'm worth something as a woman. I blame that on my daddy issue, but that's for my therapist. Basically that. And I used to think that I didn't wear makeup. I There was a period of time where I did not wear makeup at all, not even lipstick, nothing, because I thought I wanted to be natural and other girls are not natural, but I'm such a natural
mm,
beauty that I didn't
mm,
need any of that. So yeah, very much like that. And then I grew up learning about feminism, becoming more and more of a feminist, and that's when I had to reclaim, kind of in a way, heal my inner child, get in touch with everything pink,
mm,
everything feminine again, learning how to be okay, learning how to kind of make friends with other women. And that was when I realized the importance of female friendship, the importance of having a female community, and how it's so much easier, so much more meaningful, and so much more supportive it is to have female friends, women who are going through the same lived experience as you, things that you can talk to women that men don't understand because they just don't have the lived
mm.
experience and they try to defend the patriarchy a lot. So now I'm like the opposite of a pick me, which is I'm a do not pick me kind of woman.
Right, do not pick me. I definitely had a pick me phase too, cause yeah, I did a whole. I don't know how to do
Mm-hmm.
makeup. Like I'm a natural girl. I went through that phase. I went through the men like me more than my friends because like I I'm more
Mm-hmm.
outgoing, and I know how to talk to them, and I know how to like be one of the boys, and I went through that phase. So I totally get you. But I feel like almost every woman has gone through like a pick me
Yeah.
phase because of the society we I don't know, we are socializing internalized patriarchy and internalized misogyny. It takes learning, it takes unlearning to like, get away from it. But how does patriarchy and misogyny, like in what ways does it pit, does it help to promote this pick me culture? How does it help to pit women against each other, like in your opinion?
So the first one is
Mm-hmm.
patriarchy. It enables pick me culture because then it
Mm-hmm.
increases the value of male validation, right? Because at the core of
Mm.
pick me culture is seeking male validation and centering men.
Yeah.
So doing everything that you can to please the male gaze to get male validation, which means that you are catering to the patriarchy, which means that you think that what men think, what men like, what men want are more important than what women like, what women think, what women want, including yourself. So you're putting men's needs and wants and
Mm-hmm.
everything else above your own. That it essentially you're carrying water for the patriarchy. You're perpetuating the patriarchy.
Mm.
You're putting other women down, which goes to the second point of how it fuels the patriarchy, how it kind of how it helps the patriarchy in terms of pygmy culture is by dividing. So you know the tactic of divide and conquer. It works the same way by
Yeah.
dividing women, by pitting women against each other. We do not have the opportunity to form a community, to talk to other women, to exchange ideas, to uplift each other because we're so busy fighting against each other that we are
Yeah.
helping men essentially, and we're not creating this sense of community where we talk to each other about our lived experience. For example, if let's talk about domestic violence. For a pick me,
Mm.
she would think that she's not like the other gender-based violence survivors because she knows better, because she knows men, because she's different from other girls.
Mm.
So she would never fall victim or become a sexual assault survivor or gender-based violence survivor because she's just so different. Which means that when she sees a survivor coming out with their story, she will try to put them down. She will try to blame the victim. She will try to justify the abuse. She will try to defend the perpetrator.
Mm.
So it is, in a sense, furthering and perpetuating patriarchy and misogyny even more because you are helping the patriarchy that way. And when women are so busy fighting against each other, we cannot fight against patriarchy.
That's true. I perfectly agree with you. And going back to your first point, it reminds me of, and even the the example you gave about domestic violence, it reminds me of exceptionalism, which fuels like pick me culture, like women thinking that, if I'm better than you
Mm-hmm.
because I'm exceptional, because I don't do this, or because I do this. So there's this, I always bring examples from Twitter because
Why are
unfortunately
you still
I'm on
on
Nigerian
Twitter?
Twitter.
Why are you still on Twitter?
Right, right. Unfortunately, I am there. And I am also on Nigerian Twitter, which is like one of the most misogynistic places to be. So there was this one time that a woman who now has claimed the title of headmistress of Pygmies. Yeah, she actually claims it. Not I'm just quoting. I'm not saying she has really claimed
Okay.
it, but I mean she embodies it, and feminists have come out to like, try to correct her, and but she says no, she's going to do what works for her. So there was this one time she posted on Twitter, she was actually pregnant, okay? And she made a tweet, and the pregnancy was far along, I believe, and she made a tweet that I think she woke up at 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. to make sure that her husband has
Oh my
lunch.
god. Lunch at
Yes.
2 a.m.
And people, yes, because he's leaving the house early. There's crazy traffic in Nigeria, so most people are leaving their houses around 5 a.m., 6 a.m. to get to work early. So she needs to wake up ahead to make sure that his lunch is ready. And anyway, she got so many donations from men, a lot of it from men. because oh my god, this is wife material. This is the woman all women should aspire to
Oh.
be. And on the other side, we're the feminists, we're the women that as a pregnant woman, it's actually your husband who should be waking up to make sure that you have food to eat before he leaves for work. But here you are, and since then, that's her whole
Mm.
personality. You
Yeah.
get it? Like everything about her revolves around her marriage, revolves around her husband, and there are actually times that she actually calls out feminists for like the things that they are doing, the things they are standing up for, the things they are standing against. So that is just her whole like personality. And the men on Twitter love her. They adore her. She's like she's one of the boys.
Oh my
So
god.
that's like such an example. And my thing is, okay, you've already been picked. Why are you still epic me? Like as a married woman,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you've been picked. You've gotten what you want. So why are you still pandering? It just goes to show that pick me that it never ends. Like you live your whole life pandering to a man. You live your whole life looking for male validation. There's no point if you don't learn and unlearn. There's no point in which you can say that, oh, you know what, this is not me anymore. You just be stuck in this cycle of living for men. And I think a lot of times when I see like these misogynistic and pick me tweets, a lot of them comes from like religious
Mm-hmm.
people, people who are like, they are spiritual and all that. So also like sort of tackling that, how does religion, how does politics, how does it feed into like women being pick me, into women thinking that the only way that they can feel like, oh, I'm somebody is, performing for a man to pick them.
Before we get into religion, I want to say that I've said this before and I'm going to say this again. Male validation is the cheapest currency that you can have. It is so
Ever.
cheap. Think about it this way. Men,
And
yes,
fickle.
men will pick literally anything. They will pick a toy, they will pick a doll, they will pick an animal.
A
Yes, a
goat.
goat, they will pick a monitor lizard, they will pick a corpse, and they will turn on you anytime. Male validation is such a cheap currency. Look at, for example, Margot Robbie. Margot Robbie, during her time when she was doing The Wolf of Wall Street, she was the epitome of the male gaze, right? Men loved her, they sexualized her, they idealized her. What happened after when she started
Yeah.
doing Harley Quinn, when she started doing Barbie that went against their male
Mm.
gaze? Barbie that was a sort of feminist 101, putting that a little bit of a stretch, but feminist 101 kind of movie. They hated her. They started saying that, oh, Margot Robbie is so mid, like she's so and then just look at Margot Robbie. They flipped like that just because you don't do what they want you to do. Sydney Sweeney, for
Mm-hmm.
example. Sydney Sweeney is also very much catering to the male gaze. But then what happened afterwards? Very, like, I've even seen a lot of tweets pretty recently saying that Sydney Sweeney is mid. Like, she's not pretty aside from her boobs, aside from her chest, things like that. And then when she caters to the male gaze again with the soap, selling soap with her bath water, they are flipping
Yes.
again.
Now they love
Exactly,
her.
now they're flipping again.
So I actually heard there's a hole in the
I
soap.
can't verify that
I saw a
be-
tweet that said there's a hole. Yeah,
because
same. Which is
some
crazy.
people say that that is fake, that it hasn't been out yet, but some people say that that is
Okay.
an unboxing, so I'm not sure. Can't verify that. But yeah. So, cheapest currency that you can find. Don't try to seek male validation. I think that's probably the reason why that woman, even though she's married, even though she's been picked, quote unquote, she's still seeking male validation because it's
Mm-hmm.
not the kind of strong validation, like solid validation, that you get from yourself. You get it from men, and it's very,
Yeah.
very flimsy. It's
Yeah.
kind of like I would equate this to eating fast food. When you eat fast food,
Mm-hmm.
you're not getting any nutrients, you're not getting any substance, and it barely fills you, right? In the end, you get
Mm.
nothing but just a lot of health issues. In this case, a lot of
Yeah.
emotional and mental health issues. Yeah,
Emotional,
from chasing male validation. Like, oh,
because men will F you up.
yes. They should be paying for all our therapy, like honestly. Anyway, religion. So Cambodia is not a very religious country, so I didn't grow up with a lot of religious context. But I what was the question again? I went on a tangent and I completely forgot the question.
How, religion, politics, race, and all that feeds into women feeling like we need to perform to be picked by men.
I would say, in a broader general scale, that I
Mm-hmm.
understand why pick me culture is the way that it is, because when everything is controlled by men in terms of religion, in terms of politics, and everything like that, when you feel like in order to get a seat at the table, you have to appease to the men who already have the place at the table, then you kind of want to cater to them,
Yeah.
right? Because you feel like in order for you to sit there too, to have a place there too, you have to be nice, you have to be one of the boys in order to fit in. And when you feel like, as marginalized people, because women are marginalized people, as marginalized people,
Mm-hmm.
um, you feel like, okay, if there are 10 seats at the table and there are 3 or 4 seats for women, for marginalized people, then you feel like if you don't fight other women, then they're going to take your spot at your very limited spot at the table, whether it's becoming the head of a company, whether it's leadership position, whether it's becoming a representative, whether it's in politics, whether it's in religion and all of that. If you don't fight other women for that spot, then you won't be able to get it. Whereas men, they feel like they're entitled to that spot just because that they're a man. Women don't feel like we're entitled to any spot just because we're a woman. That doesn't happen. Women have to work
Mm.
twice as hard. I was reading this. I don't even remember where I got the information from, but it said that before, like in the time when women even got the chance to work, we had to work 5 times as much as men just to advance, right? Because we were doing household work, we were doing everything. Now women have to do twice as much work as men in order to advance. Yes, it's gotten better, but still we're working twice as hard as men. We never feel like we're entitled to a spot at the table just because we're a woman. So for me, that is its relation to pick me culture. What do you think?
But Emmanuel was still asked, what do you bring to the table?
I
What the
bring the
heck?
entire table. What do you bring to the table?
Oh! Right, right. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I think speaking from my perspective, from someone who grew up like in a very religious setting,
Mm-hmm.
there's good girl conditioning where, girls are thought to be a certain way to, embody themselves. Like there's purity culture, there's, all the things that makes you wife material. Like you need to learn how to be a homemaker, you need to be a mother, you need to have kids, you probably definitely should not ever have had an abortion to be considered a proper good girl. So in my upbringing, in situations like that, when you have girls who do not conform to like the good girl umbrella thing, and then you have girls who are doing everything that religion says they are,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times the ones who think they are conforming and doing everything right definitely do act like, yeah, I'm better than you, and you know what, I'm going to get married before you
Yeah.
do. And also on the flip side, there are also the ones who are not conforming, thinking that, oh, I broke out of this, so I'm stronger than you, and I'm going to get like other opportunities that you probably won't be able to get access to, which is terrible because I feel like it's just about finding a middle ground and understanding each other's perspectives and just, trying to support and uplift each other. There's also, in my case, culturally, there's the respectability politics. So I recently read a tweet which said that I think someone in the family died, and when they were giving like the eulogy and all that, they actually called the younger male son
Mm.
before they called the older daughter,
Mm-hmm.
which shouldn't be a thing, but those things happen a lot. So as a girl, as a woman, it does not matter how much you are bringing back to your family, extended or nuclear. It does not matter how much you are bringing. A lot of cultures puts like men before women.
Mm-hmm.
So in situations like that, it makes it very hard for other women in the family to even respect you. They're not going to give you any respect
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, you're a woman just like me. So I can treat you however, and no one is going to bat an eye or anything, as long as you are not a man. So yeah, in my case, definitely these are some of the ways that religion and culture, helps to pit women against each other.
I
And movie what
I want to add
yeah.
a little bit to that as well. I did see a post on Instagram as well about how mothers actually teach their daughters to hate being a woman, to hate themselves through things
Mm,
like, for
mm-hmm,
example, saying that your father's words mean more than my words as a woman. So going on a tangent a little bit, I told you about this yesterday. So I saw this guy, not seeing as like dating, but I was just minding my own business, just having lunch, and then this guy came up to me. He's white, he's Dutch. He's probably listening to this because he was asking about the podcast. But anyway, I mean, you ask for it by saying all those things,
yeah,
yeah.
he
So
did.
you're asking
He
for
was
it.
asking for it.
So he was talking to me. He has recognized me and he has seen some of my content. And then he just started
Mm-hmm.
talking to me when I was eating lunch, mind you. And then he was asking me how my parents feel about my content, about me talking so openly about sex. And then I said, well, my mom, she doesn't care. She's open minded. She doesn't care what I do. She doesn't care that I talk about all these things. And then he asked, and what about your dad? And I said, I'm a grown woman. It doesn't matter what my dad thinks or not. He can think what he wants, but I can still do what I want. And then he said, yeah, but your dad is still the head of the household. And I said to him, no, I don't live under my dad's roof. I don't use his money. And I'm a grown woman. I have a job. I
Mm.
support myself. He's not the head of my household. And then he said, yeah, but he's still your dad. And I said, no, he's not the head of my household. I'm the head of my household. And then he was like still insisting, like, oh, but he's your dad,
Hey, weird.
things like that by even mothers implying that even sometimes women who support the family, who financially support the family, put food on the table, would refer to the men in the family as the head of the household, right? Implying,
Yeah,
teaching their daughters
yeah.
that their words don't mean as much as a man, that their validation
Mm-hmm,
don't mean as
mm-hmm,
much as a man. Because when mothers teach their daughters
mm-hmm,
that they, as a mother, don't mean as much as their husband, they're teaching their daughter that they don't mean as much as a man. And bringing into things like you
mm-hmm.
said, purity culture, teaching the daughter that, oh, you have to remain pure, you have to save yourself for your husband, things like that. It really adds up. So I think, and I don't want to blame women for this, but it really comes down to how you
Yes.
were also brought up, how the society and the women who brought you up to hate other women. I forgot your question again.
Yeah,
Did you ask
yeah.
the question? Not yet.
No, I didn't ask a question. We are still talking about religion and culture and politics and
Yeah.
all that. Yeah. So yeah, there are times that again on social media where I'll come across tweets and all that, and this person boldly has like feminist ideas,
Mm-hmm.
but there are times that you read some of their teas and it's also giving pick me.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I wonder, can feminism and pick meism coexist? Like, can a feminist be a pick me? And just to go first, I think so. I think a feminist can be a pick me because sometimes we think of feminism as a personality trait. It is not a personality trait.
Mm-hmm.
It's a practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's a practice that needs a lot of learning and unlearning
Yeah.
and studying. You don't just wake up one day and say that, I'm a feminist and I've got it and I know everything there is to know. We as women, like everywhere in the world, if you're a woman, you've grown up in stigma, you've grown up in shame, you've grown up in internalized patriarchy and misogyny. It will take a while to unlearn and relearn like things that can make you the feminist that you be. I don't think any feminist can at any point say that I've learned everything I need to learn about feminism.
Mm-hmm.
It's, and even as people, I believe we evolve. So as you evolve, you get to know other things, you get to know yourself, you adapt to situations you are in. So yeah, you can be a pick me and you can be a feminist and vice versa. You can be a strong feminist and still have pick me traits. What do you think, Pat?
I think that, like you said, there are many brands of feminism. There are many types of
Mm-hmm.
feminism.
Mm,
And I don't want to be the one to police how feminists act because we have different beliefs, we have different, like, tiers, if you want to call it, of feminism.
yeah,
Even
yeah.
within the whole feminist sphere, there are toughs, for example, women who are basically just
Mm-hmm.
transphobe, dress up as feminists. J.K. Rowling, for example. Although calling her a
Mm,
feminist is a
mm,
bit of a stretch, but I digress. Um,
yeah.
I think at its core, however, feminism should be about supporting women, about decentering men, which essentially are the two things that go against pick me culture, right? Because pick me culture,
Pitch.
we were just
Yeah.
talking about one, about catering to the male gaze, about centering men, and two, about thinking that you're better than other women, so hating on other women.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that at its core, feminism should be the antithesis, whatever the word is, to pick me culture, right? Because if you are not supporting other
Yeah.
women, if you think that you're better than other women, even if it means that you think
Mm,
that, oh, I'm better than other women because I get high education, or because I don't know how to cook, I don't cater
mm,
to traditional women's value, traditional wives' value, then you're still putting other women down. You're still feeding into
mm.
misogyny by hating other women. So yeah, that's my thought. I feel like it goes against what feminism should be about. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. So I'm just wondering. So I think we've had this conversation before. I don't really remember where when there was sort of like a domestic violence
Mm-hmm.
case and people were wondering if it's okay to have empathy for women who knowingly
Mm-hmm.
decide to date like abusers, known abusers. Sometimes they even know like their ex victims and all that, but they still go ahead to date them thinking that they're special. So in situations like this, if a feminist feels like, oh my god, I'm tired of this cycle, and they're out talking about it and saying that sometimes these women should be held accountable in their actions in some way,
So
is that women going against each other?
so I have given some thoughts about this. Taking accountability
Mm-hmm.
for their action, which is what exactly? Dating a man? So
Mm,
what exactly were their actions that they need to be taken accountability for? For dating a man, for trusting a man, for ignoring red flags, do all those actions constitute or justify them
Mm-hmm.
being abused? Right? Because let's take for an example, an
Yeah.
easier example to understand. You know that in this neighborhood, there's a lot of crime. Like 5 out of 10 people or
Mm-hmm.
7 out of 10 people who go into that neighborhood will get assaulted in some way or another. And yet, you knowing that, you go into that neighborhood and then you get assaulted. Now, is it your fault that you get assaulted, even though you know that that neighborhood is prone to crime? Right? Because saying that it's your fault for walking there is essentially victim blaming, saying that, oh, it's your fault
Mm,
for insert whatever it is here. It's your fault for drinking with a man. It's your fault for going out with a stranger, for getting drunk, blah, blah, blah. So it feels like, it feels a little bit kind of like that. You know what I mean? Is it
yeah, yeah, I get
is
it.
it not wise to go into relationships with known abusers? It's not the wisest thing to
Mm,
do. Is it smart? It's not. Should you have done that? No, you shouldn't. But is it your fault for being abused? I don't think so. Yes, we can express our frustrations that,
yeah.
okay, I mean, it's a little bit frustrating that women keep going into relationships with abusive men. But at the end of the day, we also have to dig deeper and look into the root cause of the problems of why those men are abusers in the first place, and why women willingly go into relationships like that, which is essentially going back to like pick me culture, or a lot of
Mm-hmm.
like issues that they need to deal with in therapy and all of that. But is it their fault? Do you think it's their fault?
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not. I totally see your point, and thanks for sharing. But just to get a little bit more personal, because we are both feminists,
Uh-huh.
you personally, do you think there's something that you are still struggling with? Like you are still like on a journey to like unlearning the shame and stigma? Like, is there anything like that that you think you can be better with?
I think there are moments when I do catch myself thinking things that were remnants of patriarchy, of misogyny that I used to think of
Yeah.
before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I'm being perfectly honest, there are times when I do have that kind of mentality where I see women, for example, now that we're talking about this, willingly go into relationships like this, or women who um, basically cater to patriarchy, and then they suffer the
Mm-hmm.
consequences of catering to the patriarchy, getting cheated on or getting abused and all of that. And I feel the frustration. I feel like you should have known better. I told you so. You were so
Mm,
against what I say because you think that you're better. Like that kind of like, resentment in a little bit. And kind of
yeah. Yeah.
sometimes, if I'm being perfectly honest, superiority, which is not great.
Mm,
And I catch myself in moments like that. And then I try to reel myself and try to examine why I feel those ways and why I should not be
yeah.
feeling those things, things like that. Um, so that's one example that I can think of at the top of my head. What about you?
So many. so so many. But I think I've been doing really well with giving myself grace,
Mm-hmm,
and like you mentioned, um sometimes when I get these thoughts, I try to sit back and like analyze the situation and try to like bring nuance into words and try to understand why my first reaction was that,
mm-hmm,
why my first thought was that. So I try to do it a lot, but off the top of my head, I do think I still have a weird relationship with sex and how I view sex, and even my relationships with men.
mm-hmm,
Like how I think as much as I feel like I've come a long way, there's still a little there's a little like 17-year-old, 18-year-old in me that's like a randomly I catch seeking male validation. And usually when I grab onto that, I get so mad at myself because in my head, oh my god, I've come so far. Like, why am I thinking this way? Then so I go through like a phase where first I'm disappointed in me. Then I get angry at myself. Then I try to analyze why I even like had that thoughts. Like, why am I thinking a man telling me certain things should make me feel better about myself or should make me feel worse about myself?
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely that. And I think one of my biases is also with BBLs. I can't get into it. So I'm probably going to get hate for this. But anyway,
Because you have a
like
beautiful
on the
body.
flip side, oh no, I'm not even talking about it for me. But like
I
I
know,
get
yeah.
it. Like, I understand choice
Mm-hmm.
feminism and I strongly really, really believe I think I'm a choice feminist actually. But when it comes to BBLs, okay, I don't know. I'm finding it hard to believe people are doing it just for themselves and not like to pander to the male gaze. So that's something I need to unpack. That's not on anybody. I'm not saying that's the truth. This is just me. It's my stigma. It's my bias, and I'm working on this. I would say I'm actually fairly new to feminism, so I'm taking it one day at a time. And yeah, I just try to give myself grace and sit with my feelings, sit with my thoughts, and try to analyze, okay, how did we get here and how can we get out of it?
So I think that
Kat, do you have anything to
I
add?
think that choice feminism it's valid to a point. For example, if we're talking about the standard of
Mm-hmm.
beauty, if a woman willingly promotes eating disorder, for example, and she has a platform
Mm,
and she has a lot of followers and she's willingly it's her choice to promote eating disorder, she's at an unhealthy weight, and then we always say that, oh, you shouldn't comment on women's weight, for example in Ariana Grande's case, right? I'm not saying that she
mm,
has an eating disorder, I'm not
mm-hmm.
speculating that, but in some cases there are influencers who do promote eating disorder. Now, it's their choice,
Yeah.
yes, but is it wrong for them to platform something like that that is so dangerous for other girls out there, for other women and girls who watch them and are influenced by them and think, you know what, I need to also be at that unhealthy weight in order to be beautiful and famous like them. So I think that
Mm.
choice feminism is valid to a certain point. Yeah.
Point. Okay, that makes sense. You just added like a nuance, like another angle to like the whole thing. I love it. I love it for that. Anyway, just to wrap things up today, do you have any words? Do you have any affirmations? Any ways for pick me's and even feminists, people who are already feminists, to like try to affirm themselves in feminism and sort of steer away from internalized patriarchy, which leads to pick me culture. What can we do as women to remove ourselves from pick me culture?
I want to say that when you choose other women, you are also picking yourself. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with being like other women, like other girls. We're all different, and yet at
Mm,
the same time, we're also beautiful, we're also strong, we're also resilient, we have lived experience that we share. We have differences, but we also have a lot of
yeah.
commonalities that we share. And that's a beautiful thing because that's where community comes in. That's where sisterhood comes in. That's where camaraderie comes
Mm,
in. And in order to dismantle patriarchy, we need each other because men can be allies, but men
mm,
will never have the lived experience of what it's like to be a woman. And that's where we need each other. Because when you carry water for men, when you carry water for the patriarchy, then you're letting your sisters down, you're letting other women down, you are adding into patriarchy, adding fuel into the patriarchal fire, and you are setting us back, essentially. Um, I one song that I have listened to that I absolutely love when it comes to talking about being like other girls. It's called Most Girls by Haley Steinfeld. I think that's her name. I still need to double check that.
Mm,
But basically in the song she said most girls are smart and strong and beautiful. I want to be like most girls because that is true.
mm,
Sisterhood is very important. When you have tasted the difference between male validation and validation from other women and validation that comes from you will see the difference. You will see how strong it is to get validation from yourself and from other women and from other girls. Being, for example, very simple example, being complimented by a man and being complimented by a woman, it feels
by a
very, very
woman.
different. When you're being complimented by a man, it
Yeah.
feels like they want something from
Like,
you, right? It feels very fake
ew.
and very flimsy. But when you are being complimented by a woman, yes,
Disgusting.
but when you're being complimented by a woman, you know that she's being sincere. You know that she's not doing it to sleep with
Mhm.
you. And that is a lot more solid.
Guess
Yeah.
queen.
What about
Yeah,
you?
I absolutely agree with you. Yeah, just basically everything you said, and to also give yourself compassion. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of us were not like we didn't just come out of the womb as feminists. You just need to acknowledge that you need to take it's a journey. You just need to be like an active participant in unlearning the things that society has like forced down your throat. Because as women, we don't have options. Like a lot of us, like right from birth, you are assigned certain things like gender norms, gender stereotypes. It just puts your mind space, your head space in certain places that it takes a while to get away from. So be compassionate with yourself, and sometimes it will come with shame. That's okay. Sit with your feelings, acknowledge it, and then learn from it. Basically, women should also learn to collaborate with each
Yep.
other. You already shared that. It's not, I get it. Like, the world is making us compete. We don't have
Mm-hmm.
to. Like, you can sit down with your friends, you can sit down with your sisters, you can sit down and come up with something instead of, always bickering. Like, when we bicker, it just, men get happy actually, because when women are together, okay, so like typical example, when you are dating a man and you are figuring out like all these red flags, sometimes it only feels real, it gets realistic when you tell your best friend, or when you take your when you tell your group of girlfriends. It's so validating. But when you keep it to yourself, this man will just continue. It's the same thing abusers do, actually. That's why they always try to get you away from your friends, try to get you away from your family, because they know that if us women come together, we are a force to reckon with.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want that. If they allow that, patriarchy and misogyny is like going to crumble little by little. So we need to be there for each other. And remember, your worth is not attached to you being picked. The only person who you should be worried about picking you is yourself. And when you start picking you, like, babes, men will not matter. Okay, like Kat always says, men's validation is like the cheapest currency out there. Stop fighting for it. Okay, they ain't shit, honestly. And that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, if you like this episode, share it with a friend. Share. In fact, even if you don't like this episode, the moment you see the name, we are talking about pick me culture. I feel like this is an episode that every girl, every woman needs to watch. You are going to learn so much from it. So don't hesitate to share, subscribe, and like the video. You can also follow us on our social media platforms. Kat, you want to share our platforms?
Yes, it's at oh my god. It's Wands and Rabbits on all social media platform and also on podcast apps as well.
Yeah, yeah. And as always, thank you. And we enjoyed having this conversation. Catch you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.